Welcome to Aspire to Wellbeing's 21-day yoga challenge designed to help you develop a yoga practice as a habit. This 21-day challenge is aimed at the beginner yogi as well as those that are time poor with short and educational videos. You will develop a solid technique as well as learn the fundamentals of yoga. It takes 21 days to form a habit, so it is my hope that after this 21 days, yoga will be a regular part of your life. If you have just randomly come across this video and would like to participate in the 21-day challenge, I've popped all of the details to that in the description. Before we begin the daily video today, if you have not already warmed up, I've created a short warm-up for you and the link to that is in the description box as well. Welcome to day 2. In today's video, you will learn the famous Vinyasa sequence of 3 poses, which is foundational in all Vinyasa classes. Besides teaching you the correct technique, I will also go through some modifications and options that you might want to take. So before we get started into the technique, the options and the modifications, the first thing to be aware of is that we're going to be placing our weight on our hands. And when we do, we need to consider our shoulders. So especially when we're bringing our hands to the floor, the shoulders will want to roll forward. And the problem with that is that the shoulder joint will come out of the socket and expose all of the rotator cuff muscles for injury. And it also makes your neck feel and your upper traps feel really tight and tense. Instead, we want to roll the shoulder back in its socket, externally rotating the upper arm bones. So when we're on the floor, hands on the floor, and we're rolling our upper arm bones externally, it will feel like the armpits are moving towards the ribs. And you'll also notice that the crease of the elbow will spin more towards your index finger. The collarbone should be nice and broad and the neck should feel nice and free. You also want to think about pressing into the whole hand, not just the heel of the hand, but under the fingernails too. So the first modification we'll take is through our knees. So we'll start in our plank. The hands will be directly underneath the shoulders. Lengthen the tailbone down towards the knees, draw the pubic bone up towards the navel and press through the whole hand. Have those shoulders roll back in the sockets. When we take chaturanga, it's on the exhale. And you want to bring the heart forward as you come down so that the elbows have space to move back towards your feet, brushing the elbows on the way through, landing the chest and hips together on the earth. The next move is cobra pose. Tops of the feet pressing down, thighs lifted off, pubic bone presses down, hip points and belly lift off the mat. You want to keep the glutes nice and relaxed here as well so that you're not engaging the upper glutes and tensing up the lower back. You want the lift to come from the middle of the back between the shoulder blades. So you roll the shoulder heads back in their sockets, keep the shoulder blades drawn down the spine, lift between the mid-back like you have a magnet there. The elbows still stay tucked into the sides. Try not to push with your hands. Try to just use the strength of your upper back and keep the back of the neck nice and long. So avoid looking up with your eyes and crunching into the back of your neck. Then the exhale breath will be downward facing dog. So here you'll press once again through the whole hands underneath the finger pads too, pressing through the hands and knees, tucking the toes under, and then finding your way into downward facing dog. So in flow, that'll look like chaturanga on the exhale, coming forward and down. Inhale for cobra pose, lifting with the mid back. And then exhale, downward facing dog, moving through your knees. So that's the modification on your knees. Let's move into the full version of your Vinyasa, the 3 movements on your toes. So it's very similar technique-wise. The hands are still underneath the shoulders, the shoulder settings are still on. Instead of being on our knees in our plank, we're on our toes, but we still have the tailbone lengthened towards the back of the knees and the pubic bone drawn up towards the navel. That all still stays the same. Same with the chaturanga. We still want to come forward as we come down. The elbows should still be facing the feet. And then as you're lowering down, your elbows should make a little ledge for your ribs. So you only want to come halfway down. Notice my shoulders aren't rounded down. They're still back in their sockets, pointing straight ahead. So one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make is they do kind of this little spirit dive where they come down into their chaturanga and then they do a little upward facing dog. So the problem with that is that as they take their shoulders down, all of their weight is just dumping down into their shoulder socket, putting too much stress on the shoulders, and also the shoulders come out of its joint. So instead of letting those shoulders dump forward, we want to think shoulders rolled back in the sockets and just come halfway down into your chaturanga. So just at the point where those elbows touch the ribs, making that little ledge. Then you come to the tops of your feet. The thighs stay lifted off the floor, and you want to squeeze your back muscles to open up the chest and shoulders. The shoulders are still rolled back in their sockets, and here you want to think about the hip points moving towards the heel of the hand and the heel of the hand moving towards the hip points. The belly should be engaged, the glutes should be semi-relaxed. And then for your downward facing dog, it's like a reverse abdominal curl. Pull the ribs towards the hips. So feel the movement come from the belly, then press into the hands, then roll over into downward facing dog. So in flow, it will be from plank pose, exhale chaturanga, just halfway down, inhale into upward facing dog, exhale into downward facing dog. So there is another option that I'd like to offer you instead of taking chaturanga or any version of the cobra or upward facing dogs, is that you could replace the chaturanga and the upward facing dog with a cat-cow. You're still going to get that nice little back bend. So from your plank position, before we come into our chaturanga in our vinyasa practice, you'll be here. And then instead of taking the chaturanga by bending the elbows, instead you could take cat pose, tucking the tailbone under and rounding the spine. And then instead of the cobra pose, you could take cow pose, lengthening the tailbone towards the back of the room, dropping the belly, lifting the chest, taking the eyes up. So it's still a little back bend. And then into downward facing dog from here, just moving through your neutral spine, tucking the toes under, and then meeting in downward facing dog. Congratulations on completing another day of the 21-day yoga challenge. Don't forget to like and comment on each daily video, letting me know you've completed the day of the challenge and letting me know how you went to stay in the running for the monthly prize draw, where each month one lucky subscriber will win a 1-hour private yoga session with me. T's and C's for this competition are in the description box below. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow.